the transfer portal has worked wonders for some programs, including USC. Quarterback Caleb Williams entered the portal after one season in Norman, and on Tuesday announced his intentions to play for USC following head coach Lincoln Riley to Southern Cal. He's one of 13 transfers Lincoln Riley has added since his arrival in November. And the head coach of the USC Trojans joins us now, Lincoln Riley. Lincoln, thanks so much for the time. Let's talk briefly about Caleb Williams. Walk us through those discussions that you had with him that ultimately led him to joining you at SC.
Yeah, no, they were unique discussions, obviously, because I had a chance to recruit Caleb and coach Caleb, and so I think he and his family knew what to expect from that front. I think this is a new part of the country, a new university, and so I think being able to work through that and make sure that it was the right fit, both for him and for us, was part of the process, and we're excited to have him here at USC with us.
Lincoln, Pete Thamel here. You obviously have your building block on offense. I'm curious, as you've gotten to know your new roster and your new players, where you think your defense is right now. Obviously, USC was 11th in the Pac-12 last year in defense. Give us a little window to become a championship program, how far you have to go on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Pete, I think when we got here and had a chance to assess the roster, I think we found a lot of really good building blocks, a lot of them young, that we're excited to build this around. But certainly we've been pretty aggressive with the transfer portal on all sides, certainly defensively as well. We feel like we've added some really good pieces on all three levels of our defense, and we will continue to do so as spring goes on and as we get past the spring practice period. But obviously bringing in Alex Grinch and a really experienced and talented defensive staff was step one. We love some of the players that we've added. We love some of the players that we've inherited, and we'll continue to build that roster on that side of the ball. We certainly know how important that is, and if you look back at the history of USC football, especially some of the dominant runs that this program has had, it's typically been characterized by an elite defense, and that's certainly where we expect to be.
Coach, you mentioned initially touching on the transfer portal and the long-term view, particularly as it relates to the state of California. It used to be, I'm sure you're aware, that if there was a great player on the West Coast, man, he was going to SC, and it was everybody else's problem to figure out what to do next. How do you ensure that USC is the place to be for the top-level player on the West Coast, particularly in California, and maybe prevent the departures we've seen in the last 4 to 5 years out of that state?
I think the number one thing is we give them a program on all levels that makes it so good that they don't feel like that they have to leave the state of California to go get what these guys want to have as players. You've got a great setup here. You've got history, tradition. You've got the city of LA. You've got one of the elite academic institutions in the country, one of the great college football programs of all time. So there's a lot of great things in place, but players want to see momentum. They want to see, that you're being progressive as a university. You're being progressive as a football program and athletic department. And so, I think people will be able to see the investment that this university and athletic department is making in this football program right now. And it's our job to build this up to be great enough that a player on the West Coast would have a hard time passing up USC. And we feel like we're on our way to doing that.
Lincoln, big picture question about the transfer portal itself. A lot of talk about how, hey, this is good for the players. They get to find a better opportunity. Good for the coaches. They get to turn around a roster a little more quickly. There's a lot of conjecture and conversation about, is it good for college football? What changes would you make to the transfer portal?
Yeah, it's a big question. Obviously it's changed, really the way that college football operates. And I think at some point we'll have to put in some guardrails, some ways to kind of ensure when this can happen, when it can't happen, so that players, staffs, all that are a little bit more on the same page. Right now it's so open-ended that it's, I think, difficult. I think it's difficult for players, difficult for coaches, difficult to build rosters. You try to project to the future. And then I think kind of the ill effects of that when you start looking down at the high school athlete and how many of these scholarships are actually going to players in high school is concerning. And so I think so much has changed, and there's a lot of really good people, smart people in college football that care about this sport. And I think a lot of those people need to get together as we have a chance to assess all that's happened. And I think we can put together a plan that that gives everybody the flexibility that they want, but also maintains kind of the integrity of building a roster and being able to use all the different channels to do that in a positive way.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.